how do you build wealth on an average salary? This is such a multifaceted answer, but let me start with the most obvious one, which is even though you have an average salary, you need to know what are your expenses. You need to know why, because you need to find out on this list of things. Just get a little notepad and just write down every time you spend something, even the little bits. Don't forget the little bits, especially when you go to the bank, get out 50 quid. Where does that 50? It just kind of disappears, right? Where does it go to? What do you buy? What are you drinking? What are you eating? All the snacks, etc. You need to know these things. Why? Because you need to see what can I reduce so that I have more money to do what? Well, if you're on an average salary, I know people earning $3 million a year. Clearly, that's not an average salary, right? So therefore, they've got a lot of money to invest and grow. If you've got an average salary, you're going to have to tighten the old belt, reduce your outgoings a little bit, and you can only do that if you know what your outgoings. Most people don't know. I've even asked people to fill in a pre-made form that we have, and they say, "Oh no, I've already done that." I say, "Oh, that's great. Could you just do it again?" They were out by 20%, even though they had just done it. Somebody who hasn't done it at all, you'll be surprised all the stuff that you are actually, subscriptions and things like that you've even forgotten that you're doing. Then what you need to do, obviously, is to invest that money. Okay, invest it in something that has a chance of going up, and you'd be surprised. So for example, cryptos, which I absolutely love, one of my investments went up 31,000%. Now, I'm not saying that you're necessarily going to hit on that. I was lucky to hit on that. But it's funny, the more prepared you are, the luckier you get, right? Research, research, research. And so what that meant is if you would have just invested, £100 or dollars or euros, you would have made £31,000 dollars or euros. So it would have been your average salary all in one hit, which is pretty nice, I have to say. It's pretty nice, okay? So it's about investing in an asset that has a chance of going up. And most people don't do that. As you know, what do? They buy liabilities, things that immediately are going to devalue, whether that's the new flat screen TV or whether that's, a new car or whatever that it is that you're looking to do. Actually, I'll tell you a really funny story, okay? So one day I was walking along with Madrika, my partner at the time, right? And basically, walking along, and she's got quite a lot of shoes. She's got like hundreds of shoes, and I'm like, I'm going out with a centipede. You don't need that many shoes. Why do you need? And she just bought another pair. Why do you need another pair of shoes? Without a single second's hesitation, this is what she answered, right? I'll play it out for you. Why do you need another pair of shoes? What about you? When you go to one of your expensive restaurants, you just it out the next day. How's that of value? I was like, she's right. At least she has those shoes. Well, because she's got so many, she hardly wears any of them at any one time. So they're all going to last for the rest of her life, probably. Whereas for me, when I put something in the next day, and honestly, I stopped going to restaurants for at least 6 months because I thought this is a total waste of money. It's true. So what is it that you're spending your money on? That's the point. And to invest. Now, to give you a percentage, I would say, people say a minimum of 10%, but it really is a minimum. Don't latch onto that 10% thing. You say, but Marcus, I can't afford it. And we have this kind of a system, a jar system, where we teach, 10% here, 5% here, 10% here. You need to manage your money. I mean, if there's one thing, and he's taught me so many things that my mentor, the great T. Harv Eker, has taught me, it is how to manage my money. He calls it the jar system, but it really is how online, whatever your bank is, mine's First Direct, you can online have 10% going here, 20% going here, 5% going into each of the buckets, or Tony Robbins calls them buckets. You can call them jars. You can call them an online financial system. Whatever it is, managing your money. So you don't just have one bank account, and you're like, somebody says, "Oh, can we go out?" And you're like, yes, I've got enough money in there. Yes, in your bank account you have enough money if you've only got one, but that was also there to pay your rent. That was also there to get your hair cut. That was also there to buy food, to petrol. And so you have to have different accounts for different things, just like in a football game you have different players having different positions. You have a defense, you have an offense, you have a goalkeeper, you have a wing, etc., and so forth. So obviously, 10% is the absolute minimum. And you might say, but there's no way that I can afford it. Well, you've got to start managing your money. But the second thing is you need to know what you're spending money on so you can reduce those things. Now, that's the one thing, okay? But I've got a note here. You've got to make more money. How can I be okay just having an average salary? But my question to you is, why do you have an average salary? I'm not meaning to attack anybody here, because that's where I started as well. But as I grew and I developed, I realized that actually I could make much more money either by adding more value to my employer. That's the one thing, okay? I could work more in the mornings or the lunchtimes or the evenings or the weekends, or I could get a second job and do that, right? To add extra money in. And people are like, oh, why should I have to do that? Well, Do you want to be wealthy or don't you want to be wealthy? You know, and if that's what it means that you need to do for a few years, why don't you do that so you can have more money? Because 100% of that extra money can go into assets that could grow. So why would you not do that? And again, it's all about your motivation. And this whole idea about, you know, job versus wealth versus, like, why do you want to be average? Well, I have an average salary. What can I do with that? Well, why don't you change that? That would be my other question. Is it working for another company that pay you much, much more for doing the same thing? Is it you going on commission? Would you do that? Would you say to your boss, I don't want to get paid a salary anymore? Now, as they start kissing you and, you know, giving you, no, wait, I haven't finished yet. What I want to do is I want to get paid a percentage of what I bring in. Do you think that somebody who brings in 1, 2, 3, or 4 million into a business gets paid an average salary? No, they would get a percentage of everything that they bring in. The more they bring in, the more they make. So there's no glass ceiling. There's no, you know, it's the more you do, the more contacts you build, the bigger you act, the bigger is your reward. And coming back to this word average, the question is like, okay, is that what you want? Do you want to have an average salary? Okay, well then, do you want to eat average food? Do you want to have average sex? Do you want to have an average life? I'm guessing the answer is probably or might be no. So therefore, build yourself up. Become a bigger, better person so that you can earn more money, because in the end, money is nothing but perceived value. So if you can add more value to more people, whether that's your boss or your clients, you will earn more money. What does that mean? You need to learn. You need to educate yourself. You need to grow. You need to act bigger. You need to do more. Massive action. Just a few short years. And you know what? It becomes normal. It becomes a habit. It becomes customary. And then you can decide, now that I'm earning a lot of money, do I want to grow even more and earn even more? Or am I happy to stay where I am? So 2 answers there to that question. How can I become wealthy on an average salary?